Hey, welcome to the Slime Cast, gentlemen. How's it going?
It's good. Thanks for having us.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Nice, nice. So, well, basically, we needed a few people who, liked the Nintendo GameCube, realized it was pretty rad, and we found you two.
Yeah, we think the GameCube was pretty cool. A lot of people tell us that it is still cool, which we're still trying to. We debate that on a regular basis, but we think it's still pretty awesome. So yeah, you guys picked a good group of good pair of guys to come on your show and talk about the system for sure.
Definitely, definitely. Well, Nostalgia, if you want to kick us off with the introduction.
Sure.
Right. So yeah, welcome to the Slimecast, where we just talk about retro gaming and nostalgia. Hopefully you guys might have a good time here. Let's I don't know, talk some shit about the GameCube. I personally grew up with it and I love it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if you guys know much about Mike and my story. We both got the GameCube around midway through the console's life cycle, around 2003, 2004. I go back a little bit further with video games than that. I don't know if you don't mind. I can start with the very beginning. My first video game memory was 1996, I suppose it was, on the SNES. I remember my brother playing Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which was probably my first gaming memory, which I not recently, I guess 5 years ago, Mike and I, we took a trip down to New York City, and I picked it up from a thrift video game store for like $10 American or something like that. So I now own my very first piece of video game history. And since then, I mean, I picked up a ton of games on, like, when I was a kid, N64, Game Boy Color. And then, yeah, I unwrapped a GameCube for my 11th birthday and never really looked back. I got that with Spider-Man 2. And then I took a bit of a break in high school. I mean, played some games here and there, but I didn't really start seriously collecting for the console and seriously researching the console until probably like 2015, 2016. And since then, I have close to 50 or 60 GameCube games, which isn't a ton compared to a lot of other collectors out there. I've seen some pretty insane collections. But yeah, I absolutely adore the console. It's by far my favorite one. And I'm really hoping that we get some more remakes and things like that on the Switch, because we desperately need it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with 60 games, too, it's quality over quantity. I mean, those big collections, there is probably a lot of Madden and, like, throw-in titles to get that number up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have a few, like, SpongeBob games and Scooby-Doo games in there, but I actually like those games. I try and stay away from, like...
good.
Yeah, those games are actually pretty sweet. I don't have any games like... what's that game, Mike, that we covered? Vex?
NCAA? Oh,
NCAA. And yeah, I try to stay clear of, like, I know that some people like those games too, but I mean, like, not too many, like, Ratatouilles and Surf's Ups and stuff like that. I try and avoid those types of games.
Definitely none of the children's licensed games, except for the good ones. Which
yeah, the Nickelodeon ones are pretty safe, but any of the Disney movie tie-ins, sometimes those can be a little rough.
Yeah.
So did you guys both have GameCubes growing up?
I did. My kind of childhood memories with the GameCube was that my sister got one for her birthday. So then I vicariously, would play it sometimes. And as she's moved out, it slowly became part of my game collection. So
Nice.
Now it's mine.
Now, does your parents have the foresight to buy her a memory card with the GameCube?
Yeah.
That's good. Because, yeah, we have a lot of people on our podcast that come on and, like, they say, like, yeah, I played the first 20 minutes of Luigi's Mansion for a solid year until I finally got a memory card, and then I got to beat the game, which is really funny. It's just an interesting era of games. It was that awkward kind of transition between games. Like, of course, the game saves on cartridge or on disc, but no, like, the PS2 was the same thing. You had to buy memory cards, and a lot of parents didn't, because why would they, right?
Yeah, why would you know?
I was an original Xbox kid for a while, so I never really thought about memory cards until we got the GameCube.
Okay. So, so, like, if you guys had to say, like, maybe top 3, top 5, like, do you guys have favorite GameCube games that you like to go back to or you talk about? Or, like, whenever somebody brings up the GameCube, like, we instantly hear a lot of people say, like, oh, yeah, Sunshine or Melee or something like that.
Well... This is the part where I may or may not get crucified, as I have missed out on many classic GameCube games. I'm sorry, one day. But I do have some memories. I played a lot of Super Monkey Ball on the GameCube, definitely. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, I believe, which I enjoyed a lot.
Okay.
And see, the issue is, like, I was going to buy the GameCube classics, your Mario Sunshines. I wanted Animal Crossing, but now the prices have gone up even more with the a certain virus.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, GameCube right now is like the hottest thing for whatever reason. And we're part of a couple of like subreddits and like Facebook pages for GameCube, and it's pretty crazy to see some of these prices for games and like what people are willing to pay for it. Like Neil, did you see the guy who posted in Facebook yes or Reddit or somewhere yesterday? He posted like all these games that he's going to trade or give away to so he could get Skies of Arcadia.
Yeah, it's insane. Like just all the RPGs and like Fire Emblem and stuff like that. There's even a game like called Go Hyper Grind, which is just a cell shaded skateboarding game that a lot of people pick up. Like every week, there's someone posts a picture of picking up this game, which is
$500 game.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys record from the States, or like what area are you in? Is gaming collecting easy where you are?
I'm in Washington State, kind of like West Washington seems to be the mecca for game collecting, but I don't drive, so I ought to be living in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. And
Ron, I currently live in Baltimore, and to be honest, game collecting really isn't a thing around here. Like, I have this local shop where I go to. They have, all the basic stuff you need: GameCube, N64. They carry like a variety of different generations of games, and that's really like the only place I can get games besides, thrifting.
Yeah.
We're kind of where we are. It's a little bit different. I mean, like we're Mike and I are both in Toronto, Ontario. So there's a few retro video game stores around here. They're pretty decent. You can get everything, like you said, from the new stuff like PS4 to I think they even have like an Intellivision section, which is pretty sweet. But we mainly just kind of cover the GameCube wall, maybe check out the Game Boy Advance games, and then go. But like in smaller communities that might not have a retro video game store, you might have better luck at like a thrift store, like a Goodwill or something like that. That just people that get rid of games not knowing what they're worth. So sometimes those smaller communities can be a little bit more advantageous with that. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I just say. Value Village and Goodwill, I've gotten a lot of the games from the same generation of the GameCube. Like, especially back in, like, the late 2000s, early 2010s. Like, you guys probably know, too, like, the games from that generation, like, nobody cared about them. You could get them $2.99 all day.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of goes in waves. It's almost like buying a stock or something like that. Like you have to know when to buy and know when to sell. It's honestly a similar market where everything goes through waves. Where right now, like Wii games are super cheap and GameCube games are super expensive. But in a couple years' time, I'm sure you're going to see GameCube games start to go down $5 or $10 a game, and then Wii games. Even though right now everyone thinks like a lot of people like to trash on the Wii just because of I don't know, it was so kid friendly and the games weren't necessarily as beloved as the GameCube. But eventually I think you're going to start to see games like Skyward Sword and Mario Galaxy creep up from the $20 that they are now to, who knows, maybe above $100 for Skyward Sword or something like that, which it's funny to watch. But like you have to know when to collect for these consoles, and it's just that's how it works. It goes in waves. When I started collecting in 2015, N64 was insanely expensive. It was starting to get expensive. So I kind of steered clear of it. I picked up the games I really wanted, and I started to sneak GameCube games in. And now, like games that I paid $20, $30 for back in 2015, like we covered Simpsons Hit and Run a little while ago. That game is now about $100. So it's crazy. But yeah, you have to know when to buy and when to sell.
It's like all the OG collectors back in the 90s, or when the Atari stuff was high price and expensive, and now you look at it. Yeah, it's like now NES stuff is dropping. It's like the people who grew up with it when they hit 20 to 25 and they have money now. That's when the prices go.
Yep, you're right. Yep. You're 100% right.
Pretty much, yeah. No, the best thing that I think my best haul was actually from, you mentioned Value Village. That just brought back a memory, was when I first got back into like retro video game collecting. I found around here, like there's almost no good deals anymore because Value Village, I think they're in on it now. So this was like right when they weren't quite in on it. So I picked up like all 3 Donkey Kong games, the Country 1, 2, and 3. I got like Mario Paint, and I got Super Mario Kart, and one other game in there too. I forget which one it was, but each was like $8, which is $8 Canadian is like nothing. I don't know, American, that's probably like $12. So like that's like an insanely good deal. I think I got like 8 games for like $65, which nowadays you go to like a Value Village, you might find like a Zelda NES game for like $100. Like it's stupid.
Well, I looked at Value Village, and let me tell you, when cartridges came in, everyone went around them excited. So they know the prices, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you can find as many Madden and NFL and NBA games as you want on the shelf for $3 with the DVDs. So
what's weird too is like one thing weird about like Value Village and Goodwill is like you'll find Xbox and PS2 games, but it seems like GameCube games, I don't know if it's just because it's Nintendo or what, but they always seem to be the ones that get checked for prices.
Yeah, I think it does have to a bit of that Nintendo like style too, because you never see Nintendo games on sale kind of thing, right? Like Nintendo games are always hold their value to a point.
Yeah, I just think people don't get rid of Nintendo games. Like it's just like when you have a Mario Party game or something like that, you just there's something about it that just so few people get rid of them. I found like a Mario Party. I think I bought Mario Party 4 from a Value Village and it was like $40, which is a little bit cheaper than eBay, but not by much. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like Mike said, like just the prices don't go down. So most of the time it's easier to get rid of a PS2 game that you might have bought for $10 used, but like no Nintendo first party games go down to $10 ever. So yeah, when you're spending $60 or $80 on a new video game, you're more likely to keep that one long term.
Yeah, definitely. Plus it's like if somebody has Mario Sunshine, how many people are going to want to get rid of it? That's the issue. They just don't move. Like they don't, once somebody gets it, usually they have it, which creates the demand and the price goes up.
Yeah, so just speaking of Mario Sunshine, our episode just went up about Mario Sunshine 2 weeks ago, and then right after that, about a week later, we got that big announcement just last week with Sunshine, Galaxy, and Mario 64 coming out on the Switch. Are you guys stoked for that? Are you going to be picking that one up?
Eventually, when I get a Nintendo Switch.
I'm definitely excited.
Yeah, you guys are both sorry, who said that they don't have a Switch there?
Me. When 5 to 10 years, when it's cheap and I can get a Switch, I will buy the game.
Oh man, okay, yeah, I think Mike and I we're both stoked for that collection. Hopefully, we can get it. I mean, it sounds like Nintendo's being classic Nintendo, and they've already said up front that limited supply is coming like until March or something like that. So it sounds like it's going to be a pretty hard find. We might be seeing that game go up on eBay, scalpers and whatnot, probably trying to turn around and sell it for $300 or something.
Yeah, we can already see that bullshit going on.
Like amiibos.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I do want to ask, I know this is kind of a weird question, but what is you guys' preferred GameCube color between black, silver, purple, and orange? Well,
yeah, that's a great question.
Mm-hmm. Mike, I'll let you take that one first.
So I owned a black GameCube growing up, but I wish I had an orange GameCube because orange is such a cool color for the GameCube. I also had my orange controller, which was like, as a kid, I took that thing everywhere. You take it to friends' houses. It's like, no, this is my controller. I have to play with like this one and this one alone. So yeah, I would love to have an orange GameCube. Orange is my favorite color for that for sure.
Yeah, that one's tough to find in North America. That was the Japanese only, I believe, the spice orange. I was the same as Mike. I got the black GameCube at launch, or when I got it for my birthday, I got the black GameCube. But I think the purple one is the best. I just associate that shade of purple with the GameCube. I love the indigo one. I'm trying to collect the silver one, the platinum GameCube. That's like missing from my collection. But yeah, I would have to say the purple was my favorite color. I have the purple one. I just like how it looks under a TV. I think it just looks so fun and inviting. So yeah, I'd go with the purple one personally. How about you guys? What colors did you have, or would you want?
Well, me personally, I grew up with the purple one. Right now it's silver, but my goal right now is to get a purple one because it only seems right. You know, if you get a game, you got to get the purple one.
Yeah, it just looks true. It just looks good with the orange light too, that like kind of crescent smile that the GameCube has there. On the purple, it just looks perfect.
Yeah, I prefer the purple one, but I also grew up with the black one.
I think the black one was the most common one. I think it was in the most bundles. And
it was in the bundles, yeah. Yeah,
bundles. And like when it got that price drop to like 99 USD or something like that around the time Double Dash came out, I think that's when they put the black one out. So I'm guessing there was a huge surge in sales on the black console. So that's why we see those so often.
Yeah, I think that's definitely seems to be the common one by far.
Mm-hmm. So I guess just to ask you guys a question about the GameCube, with like multiplayer games, Mike and I grew up together with a lot of multiplayer games back in the day. Our go-tos were probably Melee, Nightfire, 007, Double Dash, and like Mario Party, I'd have to say. Mike, would you say that's probably right? Am I missing anything there?
No, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you guys? Did you have any multiplayer parties, like late night sleepovers, stuff like that, playing I don't know, maybe Call of Duty or one of the other racing games on the console?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, me and my cousins, we'd always play either Nightfire or Mario Kart Double Dash. That would always be, some of the go-to couch co-op games. But besides that, it was Tony Hawk.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, which Tony Hawk were you guys into?
I personally grew up with 3 for the GameCube, but
hell yeah,
I don't have it today, and that's a game I definitely got to pick up.
Yeah, man, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. We just covered that one last week too, and it's not that expensive either. Like I think eBay prices on Tony Hawk 3, it's like $20. So in terms of like great GameCube games, that one is probably the best value of a game that I've seen recently on eBay. For some reason, the prices of Tony Hawk games haven't skyrocketed yet. So if you're in the market for it, I would say now is probably the time to buy it, especially now that the remakes just came out 2 days ago. I think that you're going to start to see a spike in the Tony Hawk game prices going up.
So I also got to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to probably offend some people, but I personally think Nightfire is way better than Goldeneye. I think it's way more replayable. I can play Nightfire and pick it up today easily. I cannot play Goldeneye in 2020.
I have a friend with the same opinion, so I think you're probably correct. I've seen enough people say it who I like their taste in games that it must be correct.
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a Nightfire guy. I love GoldenEye. I played that one to death when I was in kindergarten. But yeah, Mike's right about just going back to GoldenEye. It's almost impossible. Whereas if you go back to Nightfire has like customizable control options where you can play like Moonraker, Classic Bond, things like that. So you can basically get, I think it's Moonraker basically it's Halo controls.
It's Call of Duty controls.
It's Call of Duty controls, yeah. So like you can easily go back and you know exactly what to do with aiming, reloading, jumping, crouching. So it's just so much more accessible. Whereas GoldenEye, you don't even know really how to open a door until you just have to try pressing buttons. It's not obvious.
You can't get through the fucking menu on GoldenEye. that takes forever itself.
Yeah, and you're using the N64 controller, which is like the world's worst controller in terms of playing like a shooter, right? So playing a GameCube with a GameCube controller that hit with those triggers, those silky smooth triggers.
Yeah, last time I played GoldenEye, I had fun playing it one time. The last time I tried to play it, I got beat by the level, like the menu. I couldn't get through the fucking menu to figure out how to fucking play the game. The menu alone was too hard.
Once you get into GoldenEye though, like the campaign is actually pretty decent. I think it holds, like the campaign itself holds up. Maybe with an actual controller and controls, I think it could be a decent idea for a remake. But yeah, no, Nightfire is way more accessible than GoldenEye. There's no way, no contest.
Yeah.
And again, it sounds like that we're amongst friends with that. So
you can have fun with GoldenEye, I think, with the right people, but it's definitely the definition of clunky by today's standards.
Yes,
it looks bad, the frame rate's bad, but you can still get fun out of it.
And it's the only way you can play it is on an N64 cartridge, right? Like I'm sure that there's probably PC mods or emulators and stuff like that to play it. But if you wanted to, as a collector or as like a console gamer, if you wanted to play it, you have to buy the N64 cartridge, right? Other than they made the remake on, what was it, Wii or something like that? Where was the GoldenEye remake from like 2010?
I know it was at least on 360, but
360, okay.
Received.
There's two GoldenEye remakes. There was the GoldenEye Reloaded or something like that got first made, and then there's the second one for Wii, and the Wii one is actually really good only for one reason. It has GameCube controller support.
Of course. Oh, am I thinking of the GoldenEye? Like, was there like GoldenEye on Game? Wasn't there a GoldenEye on GameCube?
Yeah, on GameCube. You're thinking of that one.
Sucks. I thought there was a Terminator game when I first saw it, just because like I'm looking at the box art right now. It's also on PS2 and I think Xbox, but yeah, like it looks like a Terminator game based on the artwork because his eye is glowing red.
Yeah, yeah, it's well, it's probably a similar quality to the later Terminator movies.
GoldenEye Rogue Agent, yeah, Terminator movies are Oh, Mike and I talk about Terminator movies a lot.
Bond, James Bond, come with me
if you want to live. Yeah, I don't know.
No. Another weird question, but preferred GameCube startup. Like I know there's only 3 options, but like when you first start up the GameCube, do you just let the regular intro, go through, or do you press Z?
I press Z every single time. Thing?
Yeah,
I gotta do this, but I didn't know about the 4 Zs until like maybe like 3 or 4 years ago when someone did it. I was like, what? Like this makes this sound? That's so cool. Because There's like clicking Z for to have like the monkey sound, like or the I don't know what sound it is, but
Yeah, it's like a monkey ball kind of Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of the GameCube intro without thinking of the memes.
I know. Oh my god, there's so many memes of it now. It's like blown up. I see that all the time.
It's weird, like 1,000 GameCubes going at once or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I usually just let it go normal. I love that little like that. I like that. That's what I know. But yeah, every time I go over to Mike's house now, because Mike has you got 4 GameCube controllers there. So I think every time we've gone over since we found out about that, we plug in all 4. We all hold Z, or we have like 2 controllers. We hold Z just to do that because it's just fun. I love little Easter eggs like that are in the GameCube. It's really neat.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
one secret, some advice for the people out there that I used to do is if you don't want to carry a wallet and you're too lazy to go to the bank, just put all your money inside the GameCube and close the lid.
and you got the handle too.
Yeah, I used to have a Dreamcast, a GameCube. The console got too full of money. I got worried.
Whoa!
This isn't bragging. It was mostly $1 bills and coins.
Have you guys seen that meme where it's like it's like showing the Switch and it's like a guy saying it's like, oh, like the Switch is the first ever like portable home console, and it's like me, an intellectual, and there's all these pictures of the GameCube with the handle and people holding it.
I mean, like if you want to go that far, did you guys ever use the handle like for going to a friend's house? Did you ever carry your GameCube outside like a briefcase or? I didn't even know that was what that was for until way later, because back when we were kids, like you set up the GameCube when you got it under the TV, and then it stayed there until I guess you got a Wii or a Wii U or something.
Well, you got to take the games and the controllers and the wires in a bag anyway. Just put the GameCube in the backpack too.
Exactly.
Like when I was a kid, I remember I went over to my cousin's house a lot, and he had one GameCube, I had one, and I just always remember, packing my GameCube in with me into the car, holding the GameCube like it was a fucking lunchbox, and going to this place.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I guess it was technically the first portable console, but I mean, what about the Game Boy? What about all those other consoles? I guess
portable home console.
The micro edition.
Portable home console. I mean, you could carry any home console before now. I'm just salty about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you guys were saying earlier about the classic consoles, like with, I just think back to, I was just thinking about this the other day, how we had the NES Mini, we had the SNES Mini or Classic or whatever the hell they're called. We never got the N64 Mini, but I was just thinking about like, would you guys be down for a GameCube Classic console? Like, what would that look like for you? Would you want like 4 controllers?
Definitely.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, okay. I don't know. Well, if Nintendo's not even going to release the N64 Mini, then I doubt they're even going to do a GameCube Mini. But I could just see it being this like small little thing, it just like the GameCube menu. It's just like that, and you have all the games on different sides of the cube, different stuff like that. And then in settings, you could do your like preferred intro. You could do the girl laughing, or the monkey one, or the regular one.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But I think Nintendo's definitely going to release the N64 Mini. It's going to come up. There's no reason. At some point. There's no reason to release it now, but there's going to come a December where they need to keep their quarterly profits up, and they don't have any big games coming. That's when they're going to drop it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like the NES and the SNES classics, they all came out like I think it was 2015 and 16, which was kind of the lowest point in the Wii U's life cycle, and the 3DS was kind of floundering a little bit. We had like Majora's Mask or whatever. They kind of had to do something to pull out a win, and right now they probably don't need it. But Mike and I always talk about like games that are just ideas that I'm sure Nintendo have in their back pocket waiting for a rainy day, and you have to imagine that the N64 and the GameCube Classic is one of those things or two of those things. What I'm sure that we will one day get, like if the Switch ever does start to go downhill, which right now it isn't. It's one of the highest profitable consoles of all time. But if Nintendo ever goes back into another dark era, which eventually they will, we'll definitely see GameCube games or a GameCube Mini come out. But like, what games would you guys be down to see? Are you like everyone always goes to like Melee, Sunshine, Double Dash, Mario Party, Luigi's Mansion, stuff like that. Are there any like third-party games on the GameCube that maybe you'd like to see make a comeback in some kind of like an HD remake, or not even HD remake, just I guess formatted for widescreen? Because like for Mike and I, it would be like for sure Nightfire or something like that would like be a must on a GameCube classic.
Yeah, and then for me personally, it's Super Monkey Ball and Super Monkey Ball, and obviously one of the Tony Hawk games. Because I mean, you guys said this on your last show, like Tony Hawk games really don't belong on the GameCube aesthetic wise, because GameCube was kind of meant for kids. It was more or less supposed to be on the PS2, which is more or less a mature console, but. I would say bring in one of the Tony Hawk games, Super Monkey Ball, and of course, the classics, Sunshine, Melee, stuff like that, and just other stuff like that. And going back to the Mini for a second, they're probably not going to do it, but just imagine, you find a little Easter egg, and then some Game Boy Advance games are unlocked.
Like for the Game Boy Advance player.
Yeah. Just go through some secret Easter egg in the menu, and you can find some Game Boy Advance games.
Oh, that'd be sick.
I would love that. I mean, that's like the ultimate pipe dream right there. Is just hoping that Nintendo put out like a little hidden Easter egg things, which would be neat for the GameCube because there are just so many little Easter eggs, like you talked about already with the startup sound, that like the monkey sounds and stuff like that. But there's also like just the Easter egg of the menu music with the GameCube. If there's no disc, what is it? It's like the 64DD menu music slowed down.
It's Famicom.
It's
Famicom, right?
It's Nintendo Famicom disc system intro.
Yeah.
Just
Famicom
really
disc,
slowed
right?
down.
Yeah.
It's just like random stuff like that. Like just to throw that into a little mini console would be just super cool. And also like another probably second controversial opinion would be a game I would want on the GameCube Classic, which is SpongeBob Lights Camera Pants.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good choice.
Yeah, me and Neil played that a lot as kids. It's a great game. It's like it's actually a pretty good like party game.
Well, Viacom would probably. Well, it depends. Viacom, the parent company of Nickelodeon, they might just want to like remaster the game to get the most money.
That's why I'm hoping that gets remastered at some point. But guys, I unfortunately have to hop off here. Neil can stay on for any of your last questions. But thanks so much for having me on, and this was really fun. And I hope to see you guys soon.
Yeah, no problem. We're glad that you could be here for at least some of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Neil, make sure you answer their questions with the utmost truth.
Let's go back to, so you said the game Big Air Freestyle, was that the one you were asking about?
Yeah, nobody really knows about this game.
I guess not. I mean, it's one of the, I think Mike and I, I'm just looking at it now. We covered this game back on the Extreme Sports episode. The Infogrames game. It's just one of those games that's lost to time. It's like just a BMX game or a motocross game, I guess, which were huge in this era. That's one of the things I love about the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube era is just we had a ton of these extreme sports games, like Tony Hawk as well. I don't know anybody, like Mike and I didn't know this game until we looked it up. The only thing I really love about it is that it comes with a demo for Godzilla Destroys All Monsters.
Well, so many of the games from that generation are just forgotten.
Me personally, I actually grew up with this game a lot back in the day. It's just like I'd come home from like elementary school, whatever, turn on the GameCube and play this for like 4 or 5 hours straight. After that, watch some cartoons. It's weird that nobody knows a lot about this. Like, even if you just look it up on YouTube, there's no reviews, nobody talks about it.
Yeah, no, like a lot of the time, like when Mike and I, when we don't have a lot to say about a game because we didn't play it or something like that, we look up just random YouTube footage of games, or we'll look up Wikipedia just to get like a broad, just a kind of a shotgun blast of information, just to get some reviews and some basic information. And this game was it wasn't reviewed super well. Like I'm looking at it now, it got mostly 4s and 6s, which is pretty low for a game. But like you said, like you had this game as a kid, and when we were young, like you get 1 or 2 games a year for Christmas and your birthday, and if it's bad or not, you don't really have anything to compare it to, so you play it to death, and then maybe years later you find out that it's a game that nobody liked or something like that. Like for me, I played a ton of like superhero games like Fantastic Four and like SpongeBob games, like I said earlier, which I loved them. I played them to death. I played them for hours. And then later I found out that there were like these way better games that everyone universally loved, like Sunshine or something like that. But, when you get one game for Christmas, you're stuck with it. And you have fun. You find ways to have fun with games that otherwise you might not have liked. If you like today, you have so many options to play games like on Steam, and there's so many demos that you can get at a click of a button. So it's just a different time that we live in now.
Yeah, the game becomes good to you through playing. And I think we've all had, especially from that generation, there's so many games that I grew up playing. It's like, if I try to get into them now, I wouldn't be able to, but I'm trained so much that the mechanics are just natural, like riding a bike.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like, yeah, it's just this was that last generation too of like games that didn't connect to the internet, games that were released broken, were sold broken, and that was it. You couldn't really fix anything that was broken in a game. There were no patches. So it was like that last time where we had games that if you bought them now, they're the same game as they were back in 2000 and in this case 2002 for Big Air Freestyle, which is just so cool. Like if you bought a game now that was released on PS3 or even PS4, if you bought that game today, it would be such a different game than when it was released in 2013, just based on patches and things like that. So like games like Star Wars Battlefront or whatever, like those games come out and they're practically empty. But then if you play them 4 years later, you find out that they're actually complete full games that everybody loves.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, the idea of being able to fix a game is cool, but, obviously we see how it's done nowadays.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of games being released like just trash and broken, and then a year later you're fine. So I almost never buy games at launch anymore for that very reason, just because I know that the game is going to be better in a year. So and it'll be cheaper too. Like you might as well wait.
Well, I hate that moment where it's like, sweet, I got 40 minutes to sit down and play this game, and then there's an update.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is like if you pop in a GameCube game now, like there's no updates. You're playing within a minute.
Sorry, Mario Sunshine needs a 200 gigabyte update. Please wait it.
Hopefully we don't get that on the 18th.
Oh,
that'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do kind of have a story for Sunshine though. So like I remember, well, you guys probably remember the Sue. It's just like when you're a kid or whatever, and you're at a barbecue, everything's running down for the night. The parents are drinking some sort of alcoholic substance.
Sure.
And they want to sit you down and they want you to do something. Now, I was at like a family kickback back in the day, and of course, me being the annoying kid running around, all that. My cousin was just like, here's the TV, here's the GameCube, and here's Mario Sunshine.
Cool.
Now, I honestly didn't know about Mario Sunshine before this. How I barely even heard of Mario, but it's weird. This is the only time I've played Mario Sunshine because I can't find it today for a good price because, of course, the price hikes. But yeah, like I would always have fun with it, jumping around, doing a bunch of missions, and it's just like it's small moments that define a game for me. Like,
and is that the only Mario game have you played any Mario games since then, or is that the only 3D Mario game you've dabbled with?
Oh no, I've played plenty of Mario games. I've played Mario Kart Double Dash, just a bunch of games, but this is like my real first Mario experience.
Okay, that's an interesting first take in Mario because it's just so radically different, and that's one of the reasons why Mike and I love the GameCube so much is because all of the first party games that Nintendo released on the console are just a complete left turn from what you'd expect. Like Mario Sunshine doesn't feel like a complete sequel to Mario 64 if you played that one first. Double Dash doesn't feel like a complete sequel to Mario Kart 64. Metroid went 3D, Zelda went cell shaded. There's just so many random changes that for the most part were great changes, but they weren't necessarily well received right away. Like for you didn't have anything to compare Mario to just because this was your first sort of foray into a first-person Mario game. So maybe, you had Flood and you had this tropical island as your main hub. But any Mario fan before that game, this was a complete left turn, and it wasn't necessarily a bad game. It was just different. So, it's cool to look back on it now to see what people thought of it. And I think it's a great game in its own right. I think it's maybe not a great Mario game just because of how different it is from other Mario games. But yeah, I mean, as a kid, you don't have anything to really compare it to. Back in 2002, when the game came out, there wasn't like the online site. We didn't have like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter to go to complain about stuff. So it was sort of like you complained about it to your friends on the schoolyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Mario Sunshine, I didn't actually, I don't know if on our episode we talked about it. I didn't play Mario Sunshine until I was way older, like 18, 17 or something like that. So quite a bit later. But so it's one of those games that I haven't 100%ed, but I'm really looking forward to going back and playing it again on the Switch.
I've never played it, but I've seen enough reviews and talk about it I know how it's kind of viewed, like in the general like Nintendo fans.
Yeah, it's divisive for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Although I think it's good that it's always good when you're Nintendo and you're gonna keep like reusing these IPs. It's good to innovate so they don't become stale.
I agree. Yeah, it's good. It's good to change up, sort of like a band or something like that changes up their sound every few years. It's probably good just to stay fresh and not just make Mario 64 2 or something like that.
Exactly. Like people complain about everything being the same, but if a game tries and fails to do something different, then it's also going to get hated on.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the annoying things about video game communities is that they're almost always complaining.
Yeah.
Which isn't great. It's okay to point out like flaws in games, but maybe like Mike and I, neither of us are game developers, so we couldn't do any better than the worst games that come out. So
yeah, I can't get past the drawing stage, the planning of the game.
I know. Yeah, just coming up with a blueprint for what the game would look like would just be so daunting to me. And then coding and everything like that is completely foreign. So
I'll see you in 80 years with the first minute.
You'll get your one level in 100 years, yes.
Yeah.
Now I know we all love the GameCube, but really the GameCube was like my first, console. But what was it like, playing the GameCube at the time and seeing, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, GTA 3, and Halo? We all love the GameCube, but just seeing how cool GTA Vice City was, or seeing Halo 2 for the first time,
Yeah.
And just thinking, damn, I'm with the GameCube, so I can't really, get Grand Theft Auto.
I guess so. I mean, I'm not really a Grand Theft Auto kid. I didn't see that game until a while later. So I don't have anything to compare it to there, but my friend did. I did go to a friend's house when I was a kid who had an Xbox, and he had Halo and everything like that. And actually, before I got the GameCube, I was saving up to buy an Xbox. So if I had got that money earlier, I may have ended up as an Xbox kid just to play Halo because I loved the gameplay of that, like the shooting and fighting aliens and stuff like that. I just thought it was super fun. And you could play games on Xbox that you could also play on GameCube, like Tony Hawk or Spider-Man 2 or something like that. But no, with having a GameCube as your main console back then, it wasn't terrible. Like it wasn't like it was with the Wii and the PS3 and Xbox where you were so underpowered. The GameCube was probably the last time Nintendo tried to compete with PS2 and Xbox. It was close power-wise. Like if you look at a game like Metroid Prime, it's just as beautiful as a game like Halo. And actually people that worked on Metroid Prime now make Halo games. So no, like having a GameCube as a kid, you didn't feel like you were kind of short shifted compared to your friends with an Xbox or a PlayStation 2. Yeah, we didn't get Grand Theft Auto games, but I mean, I made do playing the games that I did get. So I remember when I got because I was an N64 kid before the GameCube, and I remember playing Nightfire, I think, for the first time, one of the driving levels, and I just remember saying out loud, like, man, graphics are never going to get better than this. Yeah, but I mean, I was obviously wrong about that, and I still say that today, but I'm sure that they'll one day make graphics that look like exactly real life, but we'll see.
I think back then, too, what was cool about all the consoles in that generation is they really did all have good exclusive games and a lot of them to compete. So, I feel like whatever console you didn't have, you would be missing out on good games.
Yeah, and I only really felt like I was missing out on Halo personally. There wasn't anything on PS2 when I was a kid that I really wanted to play. Later on, I played Shadow of the Colossus, which is one of my favorite games of all time. I played that on PS3 and then the PS4 remake, which I love that game. But other than that, I was perfectly happy with having Mario Party, Mario Kart, all those games instead. I didn't really need the Grand Theft Auto games. My parents were pretty good about keeping me with games that were fairly light and kid-friendly, like Pokemon and stuff like that. So when GTA came out, it just wasn't even in my wheelhouse. Like I had no idea that game existed until way later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's just it wasn't that underpowered of a console for the time, so it didn't feel like it was that bad compared to the other two.
Yeah, Nintendo just made it was better with the GameCube, but they made a similar mistake with the N64 too. It's like the console itself is super powerful, but then like the mini disc that couldn't hold as much data was like the one thing they did to kind of bite themselves.
Sure. Yeah, and then even with the GameCube, like it was a half step forward with not putting games on CDs. They used their own discs, and then N64 was underpowered with cartridges instead of the PlayStation 1 having CDs. But at the end of the day, like for me, it's always just about which games are the most fun. And N64, I think I was an N64 kid. I didn't have a PS1. I still don't. I just thought, Mario Kart was fun. Diddy Kong Racing is fun. Star Fox is fun. Goldeneye. So like I had enough. Like as long as the games are fun, I didn't really care too much about graphics. Which is, I know it's kind of like it sounds like such a Nintendo thing to say that graphics aren't important or something like that. Games are all about fun.
It's true.
It's true. It is true. Like, I don't know. I just think, video games, the first thing is that they should be fun and immersive. And Nintendo finds a way, like, even though they're underpowered and they're always behind the game compared to Sony and Microsoft, they always find a way to make games, for the most part, fun. Sometimes they dip a little bit, like when we get Labo or something.
Well, it's like graphics are important and I appreciate them. Like, there's some, like, super immersive, realistic games, and I appreciate the graphics, but man, like, I was playing the game Gun the other day. The game looks ugly as hell, but it's so fun. That it's like graphics are cool. I appreciate them, but not necessary.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I still jump back and play games that are 8-bit, even like new games, like indie games. Like there's games like Shovel Knight that we get, stuff like that. Like obviously they're not realistic. They're not anything like that, but they're still beautiful. Like 16-bit, 8-bit graphics all age super well. There are games in the N64 generation, for the most part, those don't age well. And the GameCube, unfortunately, is kind of in that same scenario where it's tough to go back to some of these games graphically. But some still stand up really well. Like Mario Sunshine looks really great. Wind Waker still looks beautiful. So it kind of just depends on the game and what the art style was that they were shooting for. But I think a game like Grand Theft Auto, you mentioned Grand Theft Auto 3 back in, 2001? That game doesn't age very well now, does it? Did you guys play that game back in the day?
I think Vice City and stuff definitely ages better than Free. Because Free didn't even have the voice acting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any really experience with Grand Theft Auto. I sometimes when like I'm over at a friend's house, they're playing 5 because that's like the most popular thing on the planet is GTA 5. It's always in the top 10.
The best.
Yeah, 5. I mean, obviously it's the newest one, so it's gonna look the best. But I don't know. Like the old ones, I've seen certain areas of them, and just trying to make a world look lifelike and real. Back in the day, you thought it looked real and everything like that. Like I had Spider-Man 2. I remember thinking that, wow, this is just like New York. And then you go back now and it's not even close. So it's hard to say.
I got a question real quick, actually.
Yeah.
With the GameCube, I was wondering, like, do you play it with the HDMI adapter on a new TV, or are you still rocking a tube TV? Like, what would you recommend for the GameCube itself?
Good question. I actually haven't ever hooked up a GameCube to an HDMI anything. I still have a tube TV in my basement. I think it's like a 20-inch tube TV or something like that. So I sit pretty close just to get that classic look and feel and sound and everything like that. That's what I would recommend people do, like especially if you're playing games. Like I know the Melee community. A friend of mine, Dan, he still plays competitive Melee, and for a while he drove around with his basically his van, and he always had a CRT TV in the trunk just in case he needed to play Melee with it. So I think that's where this generation holds up best, is on just a tube TV, on a couch, in a dark basement. That's kind of how I've played just about every single GameCube game.
Right, I agree, because like I have a tube TV for retro games, but I know with this generation it's kind of in that weird middle point.
Yep.
Because I saw like the Metal Jesus Rocks video where he showed off that GameCube adapter, and the graphics do look good, but obviously for like I know about like with Melee, they don't want it to be off a little bit even because that'll fuck up the competition. But like I definitely like the GameCube. I've always played it on a tube TV, so I was just wondering like. Because that's how I play my OG Xbox, is through the adapter, because then I can record gameplay too.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have, I think I know the Metal Jesus video you're talking about. I've seen it. That adapter is really expensive too, isn't it? The HD adapter. Did he mention the price there?
Plus, it's like over $100.
Yeah, and I'm fairly cheap when it comes to video game collecting. So like, if I can get by with playing a game on a tube TV, I will. I have in my basement, I have my tube TV set up with my 64, my SNES, and my GameCube, and then next to it, it's got my Switch, PS3, and PS4 hooked up to it. So if I need to switch back and forth, it's not too hard to do.
You know, I must say also, you're lucky to have a basement. I've always wanted a cool basement I can fill with things, but
Yeah, luckily I've always had a basement when I was a kid, and I'm still in my childhood house basically. So
You lucky bastard.
I know I'm blessed. It's good in the summer too, because man, it gets hot here. I don't know about you guys, but it's nice. I have like basically my own little room in the basement that's dedicated. I got 2 big shelves with video games on it and 2
that's
TVs
awesome.
with a couch. So yeah, pretty sweet. Sorry to brag.
Awesome.
Sorry to flex a bit.
Well, basements are cool too, because like you see it with somebody like James Rolfe, where you can like build sets in a basement, and that's like basements look cool and complex. It's like full of consoles and shelves and stuff. It just looks cool and practical.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to ask you guys about that actually. So are you guys both game collectors? Like, do you set up shelves and boxes and everything like that? Like, some of these game rooms on YouTube these days are absolutely almost outrageous to a point. Like, they look like a video game store with how many games they have. Do you guys have a setup like that in your houses, or what does your setups look like?
Mine is like my collection doesn't grow that fast, but
Mhm.
some of the games are in my room, like the Atari games and the television and stuff, on 2 like skinny bookcases. But then
Okay.
in my storage room / where I like film some stuff, there's 2 like regular black bookcases, and that's where the OG Xbox, the GameCube games are, and like that. So the cartridges are kind of divided from the cases. But that was
Okay.
less about collecting and more about 2 sets for filming, kind of. So it's more like, it's like my game collection now revolves around YouTube videos almost. Like I'm more likely to buy a game that's going to be reviewed by me.
Okay.
And most
And
of it was built back in the day at like Goodwill and stuff, and a little bit of eBay.
yeah, no, I'm kind of the same way. When I was collecting, I was just buying everything and anything that was cheap. And then now I've kind of gone back and I started to sell some of my games back to the video game store that I go to a lot, just to kind of get rid of it, clear up the shelf. Because like you said, with GameCube, it's all about it's quality over quantity. So I try and get like the good GameCube games that people consider. So I'm trying to get to 100 GameCube games by the time it's all said and done, which I think I can do. I need like 40 or 50 more. So I can probably find that many good games, hopefully without breaking the bank too much. And then probably, I think if I get to 100 GameCube games, that's probably enough to stop.
Yeah, plus I mean, your game, if somebody has like 200 like filler games and you have 50, but you have like the must-have games, then you can argue who still has the superior collection.
Yeah, it's true. And it's getting harder because I do have most of the must-have games, other than like the RPGs, which I'm not as big on, like Fire Emblem and Skies of Arcadia, or what is it, Tales of Symphonia and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which a lot of people like, that and Katos or whatever. Like, I don't have those games, but all the platformers, all the Mario sports games, Mario parties, I have all those. So it's kind of just like picking up very few here and there games that I kind of just buy that are like 15 or $20 for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier to with money and stuff. It's always easier to spend $20 on a game. That's why it's so hard to get a new retro console, because you have to like drop 100.
Yeah, and it's not always guaranteed that it's going to work for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like especially with GameCubes and like the PS2 generation, where you're starting to talk about discs being spun. Like it's there's more moving parts, which means it's got a better chance that it won't work as well. Whereas a
Yeah.
cartridge system like the NES, like I think a lot of those still work pretty well, just because it's
Yeah,
just
they were built a lot better.
exactly.
Less moving parts too. Like an Atari 2600, it's gonna outlive every PS1 and PS2. Like in 80 years, you'll probably still have a working Atari, but good luck having like a PS1 in 80 years that works.
Yeah, anytime I see a PS1 in the wild, like at a Goodwill or whatever, like I always see it and it just looks dirty. Like it looks like someone spilled juice on it. It looks like the gray has turned more gray somehow. And it's like, there's no way that thing works. Like just looking at it, like I'm not even going to risk the $15 that you're selling that for.
Yeah, I got the backwards compatible PS2, but even that,
Sweet.
like, I'm always worried about using it because, like, oh, it's delicate.
Yeah, that's the fat PS2, right?
Yeah, I like the original one.
I bought one of those a while ago for like $40 at EB Games, and it stopped working about a year or two ago. So
That's like,
yeah, it happens.
well, mine's for YouTube mostly, so I can record PS1 and PS2 games easily.
Yeah, that works
Run it through
well.
the capture code.
Save space on the shelf too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And one thing that does get me, like I think about in like 10, maybe 20 years, like most original PS1s and original Xboxes are like gonna be, dead. Cause there's that thing in the original Xbox that keeps time, and if it explodes, then
Yeah.
it's done. And then,
Yep.
you know, with the PS1 and you have to take out, you know, the little disc thing. Like I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. It's just like there's this little disc thing in there with like it's like this red rubber band thing. You know, you gotta take that out.
In which console is that?
The original PS1, not the slim, just the original.
Oh, no, I haven't heard of that. Is that like it's just a rubber band in the middle of it?
No, so like it's kind of hard to describe, but basically there's like this little plastic piece with little metal balls with the little red rubber band thing.
Okay.
And people always lose them and break them, so you got to think by the time, well, I'm guessing in about 10 years, 20 years, if somebody really takes care of it, most original PS1s are, you know, going to be gone.
Right.
And then same thing with disc rot. I mean, you know, PS2, GameCube, original Xbox games, you know, obviously we all take care of them now, but, you know, some of them are just going to be gone, you know?
Yeah, it's a scary thought. I mean, I look at my collection all the time. Like I have at this point probably hundreds of games in my collection, and I have a backup N64, I have a backup GameCube, but I mean like in 40 to 50 years, I can't imagine any of those consoles are going to work anymore. So I'm going to have like shelves of games and nothing to play on, and it's a legitimate concern. I know that like a lot of these developers are starting to go digital, and like you can buy a lot of PS1 classics online. You can sign up for the Nintendo online service, and you can play Metroid or Duck Hunt or whatever. But yeah, like if you wanted to be like us and you wanted to buy the console and the disc, like, or the cartridge, it's not going to be a thing anymore. Luckily, there's console or companies like I don't know if you guys have them or see them, like the Retron game consoles. Where, like there's those. I don't think that those guys have made a GameCube or PS2 version of that yet, right? Like it's all like Genesis, NES, Super Nintendo.
Yeah, the emulation on like the 6th gen is still not quite there yet.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that we'll probably see something like that, though, where maybe you can jump into a video game store and buy like a GameCube-like device that plays the discs. I can't imagine that we'll see a day when like there's absolutely no piece of hardware out there where a GameCube disc can't be run on, which is, I mean, it's possible, but I'm hoping it's not, but we'll see.
Yeah, I just hope, like, who knows, 20 years 3D printing might be so cheap and accessible that like people just have files for any port you would need, and 3D printing could print like metal and other materials. Like, who knows?
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm not, like I said, emulators, I don't really touch them right now, but if the only way that you can play a game is by emulating it, like if a publisher doesn't want to put a game out digitally or physically again, I think it's okay to emulate it instead of paying like $300 for a GameCube game. Like on our last episode, on the Sunshine episode, I think I said, like, if you can emulate it, fine, because it's the only game that, you could only play that game if you had a GameCube and a disc, which is absolutely bonkers in 2020 for an 18-year-old game. But now we're getting it released on Switch in a few weeks, which is great. So you can no longer buy that game, or you can no longer download that game illegally, in my opinion. But up until like a week ago, I was saying to people, like, look, if you need to, play it on PC.
I agree. Plus, it's like with emulation, if the company's no longer selling the game, then buying the game from eBay, the money's still not going to the company. So at that point, you ought to just emulate it. If the company won't put the effort to supply and to meet supply and demand, then you got to get the game somehow. And if you buy it used, you're still not supporting that company, so it makes no difference.
Exactly. Like if you want to buy a game on eBay, totally fine. But I mean, like you said with Sunshine, like that game is almost $100 now, or something like $70. So, and Nintendo sees none of that money. So yeah, like if you're going to buy it through a secondary market like eBay, or you're going to download it illegally, either way, the publisher and the developer will see no money from that. So I don't see the difference. But now you can buy it on Switch, so you should do that.
Yeah, definitely. Like some people get real mad about emulation, but like just, of course, like with all things, there's a middle ground.
Yep. No, for sure. Yeah, most games that you really need to find and need to play, they're available somewhere digitally. But with the GameCube, that system is getting to be forgotten with a lot of the games. Like, yeah, they've redone now Wind Waker and Sunshine, but there's so many on there that just you can't play them anywhere else, and it's such a shame.
You and me both collect from the same generation. We have lists of games that nobody talks about from that generation.
Yeah, I know. And like even on the N64 and stuff like that, it's hard to find some of these games too, just because that and PS1 to a certain extent. Like everyone's been begging for Final Fantasy VII remake for years, which I'm not a Final Fantasy guy, but finally we're getting it, kind of. But there's so many games on those two consoles that are just being slowly forgotten and unplayable. I think we're going to see a similar problem with the Wii in about 10 or 15 years because all those games are tied towards motion controls.
Yeah.
And eventually, like, no one's going to have a Wii that works. And if you want to play the game on computer, it doesn't work unless you have some kind of a motion control device, Wiimote, to play it with. So I think the Wii is going to be kind of like the GameCube and the N64, where it's going to be hard to emulate and find these games digitally on PC or something.
Yeah, well, the sad reality is, like, the game collecting is very much a finite thing. Between disc rot, dying hardware, and people not caring about physical media, the sad reality is game collecting, as much as I hate to say, it's going to go the same route as toy train collecting and stuff. That was popular with a generation, but not anymore. It's just going to, unfortunately, like, I see it now as kids today. Like, they play games digital. Like, it's the sad reality. But, like, we just got to accept it. Like, it's gonna happen. Nobody wants to admit it, but enjoy the games now, and hopefully, maybe 3D printing will be great enough to keep it on the hardware.
Yeah, physical collecting is not going to be a thing in 15 or 20 years for kids today. Because, like you said, they're playing all their games on phones. So, what does a collection of phone games look like? Like, it just looks like a phone. So.
Yeah, like we've already seen it begun. Like, nobody cares about the second generation or before.
No.
Unless you're somebody like me. Which, I mean, good luck convincing a kid to play Pong or hook up the Magnavox Odyssey or something. Good luck with that.
Yeah, it's a piece of history for sure. But if you weren't around for that generation, then I can't see people going back that far. I'm guilty of that. Like I said up front, my first memory is of the Super Nintendo, and that is the oldest console that I collect for. So like it's the same. I did collect for the NES for a while, but eventually that NES conked out on me, and I just sold all the games. I didn't really feel it. So.
Yeah, I am fascinated in like the early stuff, like the first and second gen, but that's definitely a super niche thing.
Yeah, but it's good.
I understand why.
It's good that there's collectors like you keeping that history alive, though, because otherwise they would end up in attics and in dumps and stuff like that. So it's good that you're collecting and keeping everything in good condition. So awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Actually, though, one console I did want to talk about real quick is that, like, I know we talked about second generation, but like, have you ever heard of the Bally Astrocade though? Like one of those, kind of like small systems, I guess.
What's it called? Say that again.
It's called the Bally Astrocade.
No, is that a North American console? I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, I believe it is.
It changed names a lot of times, I believe.
Yeah, it was first called the Bally Astrocade, then something else, and it changes a lot, but basically it's basically kind of similar to the Atari 2600. I mean, it was released close to it, but yeah, it's just kind of like a small system that played arcade games at the time. And it's weird, like I was born nowhere near that generation, but I'm still like really interested in it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. You're right. It does look a lot like the Atari 2600. The controller looks like a gun missing the half part of the gun.
Yeah,
that's a really weird looking console. Is it one player? Yeah, it looks like one player.
It's like the Fairchild Channel F, like all these consoles that nobody knows about.
Yeah, I'm not really into. I can speak for Mike too. Neither of us are really into this obscure console collecting. I think it's great. It's really cool. But yeah, no, I'm more into just the mainstream Nintendo and Sony consoles for the most part. Right, I'm just reading about it right now. I've never seen this before. 1978. So like it's definitely right in that. Just before the console crash, actually, of like 82, 42 years old. So just looking at it right now. If this console came out today, it would be worth about $1,200.
It's a lot of money.
Damn.
Have you ever seen the Vectrex?
The Vectrex I have seen, but like I said, I don't own any of these consoles, so I haven't.
Cool, though. Like if I found that for cheap, it'd be cool to have like displayed in the game room. Yeah,
like they look fun and everything like that, but I like to try and play games that I buy, and I don't think I could ever see myself playing something on a Vectrex or anything like that.
more than 5 minutes just to try it out.
Exactly. And at that point, like you might be spending a few $100 on these things, which I don't make enough money to spend hundreds of dollars on something I'm only going to play for a few minutes. Like even on these gaming forums that I belong to, like people say all the time, like, is $100 too much to spend on this game? And my rule of thumb is usually like, if you can't spend, like if it ends up being like more than $5 to $10 an hour of what you're going to play it on, then it's probably not worth it. Like if a game is $100 and you're only going to get like 5 hours out of it, that's like $20 an hour. Which if that's worth it to you, maybe go for it. But yeah, if I'm going to spend like $300 on a console, I better get lots of hours out of it. Yeah,
definitely. That's like for us, like, and I think this can talk to a greater thing with collecting. Like, I feel like people on YouTube, and I know it's not intentional on their part, but like you see these people like AVGN or Metal Gear's Rocks that just have so much cool, endless amount of stuff, and then it's like you're sitting over here like, well, I can justify $20, but I gotta pay bills and I gotta take care of family. But man, and years go by, and it's like, man, I wish I could have this massive collection. But like, for people like us who don't make a ton of money, practical and what you're gonna actually play is always like the number one factor.
Exactly. And I used to watch, like when I was first getting into collecting, I watched like, Metal Jesus, like John Hancock, and I think Pete Dorr was another one of those guys. Yeah, I watched those videos a ton, and also Happy Console Gamer. But those guys hit up, and like they hit up like thrift markets and thrift stores every single weekend, and they're buying games for really cheap, like sometimes $1 for some really well-known games, which for me, like, I mean, you could do that, but I have other things, like you said, like I have a job, I have friends and stuff. So to collect to fill my basement with thousands of games that I've almost never played, which is another thing that I think they talk about in their videos, but they haven't even played most of those games. They just kind of have them. So I'm not about that really. I try and have games that I've played. Most of the games I have, I've beaten. But yeah, no, it does get kind of frustrating to watch. Yeah, you see somebody with shelves and shelves and shelves of games, and you have like your one stack, and it's like, well, this is my collection. I don't know. You kind of have to it's a very personal thing, and you have to do what works for you financially and with time too.
Yeah. Also related to that, actually, do you have I think with that, what goes with it too is like, I feel like those videos can make you think like, oh, I got to keep buying consoles for the collection. Well, sometimes like if you have a GameCube or something, it might be better to spend $20 a time and just fill out the library before you add another console.
Yeah. Like I've never really wanted to collect for everything. Like the NES didn't really talk to me. The PS2 and PS1 don't really. So I just collect for systems that appeal to me. Like I collect for, the GameCube is my main focus, but I also collected for the N64 for a while. I love the PSP, which is a random little console that a lot of people.
Yeah, the PSP is cool.
Yeah, it's a cool little, and I got it when I was a kid, so I have that connection. The Super Nintendo is just too expensive to collect for. I would, but it's just, I don't have the money for that. So like, you just pick consoles that are right for you. They have a lot of games that you like, and it's in your price range, and you go from there. If you want to collect for everything from the Intellivision to the Xbox One, then by all means go for it. But
yeah, I respect it, but
yeah, exactly. So I'm more of the fan of just collecting for consoles and games that you like. And if you're a completionist, that's a whole other beast. Like some people, I've seen videos of this one guy that collected every single Wii game.
Oh yeah, that guy.
I think that was a Metal Jesus video too, but like that's just insane to me.
It's so weird seeing all the white game cases in that room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like I said, it's a personal thing, and it just has to. You have to do what's right for you with game collecting, and everyone has their own theories and strategies and things like that. But for me, I think we're kind of similar. We go and we buy a $20 game every so often. So yeah, my collection doesn't grow nearly as fast as it used to. But I'm still happy with what I have, and I'm always happy to go into these local stores and support the shop owners.
Yeah, definitely. Plus, like for me, I mean, I'm only 20, so if at 25 the collection becomes respectable, so be it.
Okay, are you guys both? You guys are young then. You're both 20-ish, or
Nostalgia's older than me.
Yeah, I'm 23.
Okay, yeah, cool. So yeah, you guys are really young then. Mike and I we're 27, so we're kind of like the early 90s kids basically. So yeah. Good to talk to a couple guys though, like a couple of years younger than us. Just it's always interesting for me to talk to people who are younger about games because they have no memory of like N64 or something like that. Like their first console was a Wii, and it's like, whoa, my God, I'm old. It's kind of fun you kind of mark a generation and age of a person based on what their first console was or what their first Pokemon game was or something like that. That's cool.
Funny enough for me, I've lived like the secondhand ghetto console life where it's like I did grow up with the N64 still. Funny enough.
Yeah, I mean, like me, yeah, same with me too. Like we got the N64 fairly late, so we got it in '99, I think, '98 or '99, and then we played that for 5 or 6 years until midway through the GameCube's launch, because buying consoles at launch is just really expensive, especially when you're relying on your parents for money at the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good idea for a lot of people. Like sometimes I'll even recommend, like I got into PS3 pretty much when the PS4 came out. And so I was buying PS4 3 games for like 2 for $20 every week. I would go into EB Games, pick up 2 more games, and it was super cheap while, you know, Uncharted 4 was coming out or something like that. So and I've kind of done the same thing with PS4. Like I've played the big games like Last of Us and whatnot, but I'm probably going to have the PS4 as my main console for another 3 or 4 years while the PS5 comes out and those games get cheap.
Yeah, I'm doing the same strategy. Like value-wise, there's so many games I haven't played for this gen. I'm not even thinking about upgrading.
Yeah, like there's enough Nintendo games to keep me busy too. And since those games don't go down in price, I typically play them at launch. And then I wait for the other games, the PS4 games like Doom or whatever, to get really cheap. And then I'll buy those later when there's a lull in Nintendo games. Yeah, cool.
Avoid the hype train. Save your wallet.
Yeah, I've kind of avoided the whole hype train. Like I'm not up to date on most video game news anymore. I used to be. Like I used to follow IGN podcasts and stuff like that and try and stay up to date on new stuff, but it just gets so exhausting and expensive too. So it's just easier to just sit back and kind of wait for things to play out, and then you kind of go in later after everyone's moved on. When I was younger, like when I was your guys' age in my early 20s, I worked just retail. I worked with like a bunch of friends my age, and yeah, there was like a huge market or like a huge amount of people in the store that played games. So we would talk about games on our shift and stuff like that. But after that, I got like a quote unquote real job. So I work like 9 to 5, Monday to Friday in an office. Nobody's talking about video games there. So it's kind of easy. It's easy to avoid hype train now. Like once you kind of move on from school and working in retail, that just playing games later, it's not really so much of an issue. Like I played The Last of Us a few months after it came out, wasn't spoiled or anything like that. So it's just easier the older you get to play games later.
Yeah, definitely. You don't get like your friends and you like if all your friends are getting a new game in the series, you don't want to miss out. You got to get it too.
Exactly. You want to be talking to them about it in the lunchroom and in the back and stuff like that. So yeah, back then I was
they might spoil it.
Exactly.
Although I do gotta admit, I did get into the hype train recently with the 1 and 2 remake. Like I'm thinking, well, I'm really excited for the 3D All Stars, but then I'm seeing, hey, you know, my friend's about to get it, they're about to get it, you know, so why don't I get it? So
yeah,
I was kind of a victim of that Tony Hawk remake hype train.
Yeah, that's fine. There's new games that are always going to be like, I got to get it now.
Yeah, now I got to wait till like October or whatever to get the new Mario remake, because I don't think I can get that, you know, day one, because I'm pretty sure they're going to charge $60 for it.
Yeah, that's going to be a full price game. So you have to work with what's right for your budget and everything like that too. But yeah, like you said with Tony Hawk, when I heard that was announced, I was one of those guys that was like, yeah, day one, I'm going to pick that one up. But it's been out now for 3 days. I haven't picked it up yet. I haven't even seen any reviews. I will get it. I might put it on my birthday list or something. I have a birthday in October, so like I can wait. Like no one, like I said, I work in an office, or I work at home now, but I work in an office with people that don't play games. Most of my friends, they all play like League of Legends or whatever PC games they have. So, and I like Tony Hawk games, there's no spoilers with that. Like both those games, Tony Hawk and Mario, each of those game franchises are 20 to 25 years old at this point. So
yeah,
there's no spoilers there. You can look up reviews and see what games look like graphically, but in terms of the stories in these games, there's no secrets or anything. It's not like the conversation is pretty easy to be a part of when most games these days are remakes and remasters.
Right.
Which I actually kind of wanted to talk to you guys about, just gamer to gamer. Like, do you guys like the amount of remasters and remakes that we get these days? Like, does it annoy you? 'Cause sometimes it annoys me. Not gonna lie. that like every single game that like the top of the chart game every month is like Spyro or something like that. It's like, what? Like, do you guys buy a lot of those, like Crash Bandicoot games and stuff like that? Like SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom was huge.
I think it depends on the game. Honestly, one issue I found with some remasters, like the graphics are technically better, but they don't preserve the art design or the actual look of the game. So sometimes that can, but then obviously most people aren't gonna care. That's just me examining it.
Yeah.
Like, I'd prefer a re-release sometimes over like a remaster.
Yeah, like I think we. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I don't really mind it, like most of the remakes, to be honest, I don't really care about. Like the new SpongeBob game, I didn't grow up with it, so I don't care. But when it comes to remasters, I don't mind it. Like Haytham Gruxton said, it all just depends on the game.
Yeah, I think that they're fine for people that like younger people or guys like me who didn't play. I didn't have a PS1 back in the day, so I didn't play 1 and 2. I know they're on N64, but they're not as good there. But yeah, like just to go back and have this game re-released that I can play for the first time again, it's great. I mean, like there's going to be kids or young teenagers or whatever that are 13 that don't have a PS1, so this is great for them to play Tony Hawk for the first time or SpongeBob. So it's good there. I was more like complaining, I think, when remakes were becoming a real thing. I was complaining about games that I had already played, and I just kind of like I bought a few of them. Like I bought the Mario Kart remake on Switch, the Donkey Kong remake on Switch. I bought Wind Waker HD, and eventually I just hit a breaking point where it was like these remakes aren't meant for me. Like I've played these games already, so if I don't play them for a second time, if I don't spend $80 for a second time on this game, that's okay. So I'm trying to just stick towards remakes of games that I don't already own. Like I already own Battle for Bikini Bottom on GameCube, so I didn't buy it on Switch or PS4 because I've already played it. Time is a currency too that I have very little of these days, so I'd rather play games that I've never played before. So I will pick up the Tony Hawk Pro Skater remake for sure because I never played those ones. I may wait a little bit on the Mario games since I already played those ones as well, but yeah, like you don't have to buy everything the day it comes out. Like I think that there's like this in gaming, there's like this stigma that if you don't buy a game the day it comes out, you've missed out, which hopefully that's kind of ending fairly soon. I'd like to think it is, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've missed out on so many games at this point that missing out on another doesn't have the same feel anymore.
Exactly. Like the best thing you can do for your mental health, I think, is to just not have a backlog. Like it's okay to have games that you want to play, but like as soon as you start making a list of games that you've never played, you can feel the anxiety building as you make that list longer and longer.
The amount of books on my shelf I haven't read alone is annoying. No more backlog.
Hey, it's good to have things like on the go, like, when you finish one thing to have something else to go to. But if you think like you feel like you have a deadline to beat like 20 games a year, you're going to freak out. And it's not. Yeah. Eventually one day I just threw away. I had a backlog and I just like threw it out. And now I play a game when I beat a game. Like I might take a few weeks off or whatever, or I'll go out and buy a game that I feel like, because you never know what you're going to feel like, right? Like if you have 1,000 Assassin's Creed games on a backlog list, but all you want to do is play Tetris, like you're going to be miserable playing Assassin's Creed.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, actually went through a similar thing recently with Animal Crossing. Like,
okay,
I've been addicted to Animal Crossing, and actually took my friend Haytham Gruxton's advice, like take a break from it, because it's just like I've been playing Animal Crossing for a week straight.
Jeez.
And I want to switch up to either Melee or I don't know, Simpson Sit and Run.
Yeah.
But it's just like whenever I have free time, how are my villagers doing? Is my house okay? What's my island rating at? It's just like you gotta take a really long break sometimes.
Yeah, and sometimes you just need to pause and ask yourself, like, are you even having fun doing this? Because that's what gaming is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a hobby that you can just unwind and do for fun. Something kind of like that happened for me with a PS4 game that came out a few years ago, Horizon Zero Dawn. I was playing that game, like I was really hyped about it. It looked like such a cool idea for a game, like this open world robot dinosaur game. You play as like a woman, like a native kind of, I don't know, tribe-esque game. And I was playing it for like an hour one night, and my mom was around or whatever. And she's like, man, there's a lot of like cutscenes and talking and just like a lot of downtime in the game. I was like, yeah, no kidding. And she was like, is this even fun? And I just like paused and I was like, no. And I turned it off and I never turned it back on again. I played like the first 2 hours of that game and I never went back to it. Because it's just
like to me.
Yeah, like it's just
Great game.
even though this game was like scoring 10 out of 10s, it was selling like gangbusters. Everybody loved it. Everyone's talking about it. It wasn't for me, and I just had to like from that day on. I accepted when certain games weren't for me, and I went on to play whatever Metroid Prime or something like that right afterwards. Tetris, yeah, I love Tetris. Yeah, sometimes a puzzle brick breaker game is all I need.
Yeah. I love brick breaker games.
Yeah, there's a really good one that came out earlier this year called Twin Breaker on PS4.
Yeah, by Colin Moriarty,
Colin Moriarty.
Yeah. I listened to his podcast, both of them.
Me too. Yeah, when I was driving to work every day, I used to listen to his podcasts a lot, and that's a great game. And I think that's probably my game of the year right now. Like, no doubt. I haven't played Animal Crossing or anything like that yet, but just a simple 16-bit or whatever 8-bit game that you just break bricks, and it's just an addicting game. It doesn't have to be a $1 million game that you pay $90 for to be something that you like. So
yeah, I still need to play it. I'm such a big fan of like the shows he does still and stuff, and I like brick breaking games. So eventually,
yeah, he's a fantastic podcaster. He's probably my favorite podcaster. Kind of like the guy that got me into it. I mean, Mike and I have been talking about doing it. Mike and I have been talking about doing a show for a while now, and he was kind of the main podcaster that I listened to in college, and then just up until now with his Sacred Symbols and stuff like that. So
you listen to his other one too that he does with Diggin?
Yeah, Knockback.
Yeah, Knockback. I was just listening to that last night actually.
Yeah, I'm way behind on my podcast right now. I haven't listened to much of his stuff in the last like month or so. So I have like 4 of each. I listen to that and Knockback every week. And sometimes I would miss Knockback episodes just because they talk about topics that I don't really care about.
Exactly. If it's a movie I haven't seen, I don't listen to it.
Exactly. It's cool. I like having gamers talk about things other than video games sometime. It's good to just listen to them talk about things that they do outside of that in their own lives. It's good to know that there are people out there in the gaming industry that don't just play video games, because Mike and I are the same thing. Like, we don't just play GameCube. We're also big fans of music and movies and things like that. So it's important. But yeah,
I just love Colin's like perspective on everything.
Yeah, he's hilarious. I love it. Like, he's like the modern day Larry David or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, did you guys want to ask any more questions? I don't know what you have lined up there or interview wise.
I'll throw one out. Oh, you go first.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask any unpopular Nintendo opinions.
Unpopular Nintendo opinions. I hate to say it, I do not like Animal Crossing at all. Like, I know that everybody loves Animal Crossing. It's like the hottest game. I was so cheesed when like the start of the pandemic happened and everyone was playing Animal Crossing and there was no news about anything except Animal Crossing. I do not like that franchise at all. It's not fun for me. I don't see what's fun about it either. Like, some games that I can see why people like it and stuff like that, like Fire Emblem and things like that. I don't love those games either, but I can see why they're addicting. I don't get why a life simulator is fun at all. I didn't play The Sims as a kid either. I don't get why you'd want to go into this virtual world and make fake friends and make fake money when you can do that in the real. I do this all in the real world. Like, I have a job.
Yeah.
I don't know, I work in the garden or whatever like that, and I do things outside, so I don't need to come home and do that again. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but that would probably be my biggest one, is that I do not like Animal Crossing at all. Trying to think of another one. How about you guys? Do you have many unpopular Nintendo opinions?
Yes.
Okay, hit me.
The motion controls for Mario Galaxy cripples the game.
I agree. I think that the motion controls for the Wii crippled that entire console. Other than like Wii Sports, I think they should have cut it after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Skyward Sword is like the worst Zelda game, I think. That game's brutal with the motion controls. Mario Odyssey wasn't the worst on the Wii though. Like, you had to use the motion for spinning and collecting star bits or whatever, but with the remake, I haven't done much research yet, like on Switch. Have they cut out the motion controls, or what's going on there?
My God, I hope so.
I'm hoping so. I won't play that game again if I have to play with 2 Joy-Cons. I'll skip that one. Yeah, that's not too controversial though. But yeah, I guess my I don't know, just in terms of like a well-known Nintendo franchise, is Animal Crossing is not for me, and no one's really killing me over that yet. I'd rather not spend 500 hours in a virtual life.
Well, I mean, I understand your opinion. I just think of Animal Crossing like this. It's kind of like a Tamagotchi, you know?
Yeah.
You have your little pet. You got to take care of it. You know, you just got to think about it like this, you know? You go home from work, you check your villagers, you know, make sure they're all good. You plant some flowers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
catch some fish, catch some bugs, get some bells, spend it, upgrade your island, make sure your villagers are okay. Just think about it like a little Tamagotchi, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't have a Tamagotchi either. I just think I can definitely see the appeal of it. I guess I lied when I said I can't see the appeal. I get that. I just don't see why you wouldn't want to do something like that in real life. Like, for example, like with this podcast that Mike and I started back in May, the GameCube Was Cool podcast, like just like the way you described it right now, where like, you water your plants, you check your villagers, you do this and that, you add a certain house or certain trees here and there. Like that's kind of what we're doing with the podcast. Like we're finding new followers, we're advertising in different ways, and we're seeing growth in real life with something real. I don't know why people wouldn't want to try and do that instead. But I guess if you have a video game to do it, it's the same. It's probably the exact same feeling, actually. The way that we see progress with our podcast is the same satisfaction people get out of seeing growth in their village or whatever, their island. Yeah, that's probably good perspective.
I don't have too much Animal Crossing experience, but like, I can't really judge it because I am the guy. I'll play a game like City Skylines or something and like manage traffic and build the city up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll throw out a controversial Nintendo opinion. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready. I can take it.
I don't believe it, but we need to make it controversial. All right. Nintendo Wii Fitness was the best and only good game ever made by Nintendo.
Wow. Is that a real opinion of yours, or is that someone else's opinion?
No, not at all. I just made it up. It's the most controversial opinion.
Okay. I never played Wii Fit. I only know Wii Fit because of the character in Smash Bros. And I see the Wii Fit balance board everywhere I go.
I played it one time and I hated it.
Oh, okay. Thanks for saving me the
controversial opinion.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll try and make sure I never play it. I don't think it'll be too hard since no one has a Wii set up anymore anyway.
Yeah, good luck avoiding that game.
I call the Wii the GameCube Slim.
Yeah, it's same CPU basically.
Yeah, and it plays GameCube games and it's slim. So guess what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other random questions to throw out there? Or
I'll throw one out just because we have expertise kind of in a similar generation, so there's a lot to pick from with this.
Sure.
So I'm like, what's like an underrated game from like the GameCube time period that doesn't get enough love that you want to shout out?
Underrated game on the GameCube. Let me just check and see if it is.
Just on that time period in general.
It will be on the GameCube just because I don't have any. Yeah. I don't have much experience with games that are like on PS2. Like the only PS2 games I played were like God of War, Ratchet and Clank, Shadow of the Colossus. I'm just looking up to see if this game is considered underrated. The reception here.
Not even underrated. It can just be one that nobody talks about that you're like.
Okay. I don't hear many people ever talking about Ultimate Spider-Man on GameCube and PS2. Also on Xbox. Do you guys know the game I'm talking about?
I feel like I've probably seen it.
Okay. That's probably enough to consider it underrated if you think you've probably seen it. It's basically like a cel-shaded Spider-Man game. It came out after Spider-Man 2, the movie game. It was made by like Treyarch, published by Activision, so Call of Duty guys now. But it was like just this super comic booky game where you can play as Venom, you can play as Spider-Man. The swinging felt different than Spider-Man 2 and stuff like that, but it just felt like you were playing a comic book. I rented it for my birthday. I think I was turning 12 or 13. I rented it from Blockbuster and absolutely adored it. I beat it that weekend, I think, bought it years later, and I think it's a super underrated game. Just seeing what it is rated on the GameCube. Yeah, 76, which I think it should be at least an 8. I think 76 is a bit low. Just looking now, it's rated actually pretty well. But in terms of conversation, I don't hear many people talking about this game because everyone talks about Spider-Man 2 from the GameCube and PS2 generation. And I think that this game deserves to be in that conversation as well, but it isn't. So
your description of it makes sense. Now I'm interested.
I highly recommend it. I played it a couple summers ago, and it holds up pretty well because it's cel-shaded, and cel-shaded games from the mid-2000s, those games age pretty well because...
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah, it's really fun, and I don't think it's super expensive either, so you can probably find it for pretty cheap. And then the other underrated game I would say, I mentioned it earlier, would be Lights, Camera, Pants, the SpongeBob game, which is the Mario Party game that nobody played.
Yeah.
Those two games
weird
for sure.
That nobody played it, because like the IP is strong enough, but people probably just assume licensed game.
Yeah, they think it's just a throwaway game with cheap gimmicks and everything like that. But no, it's a must play. Let's see, what's this one? And then just as a last one, I'll say GameCube exclusive was 1080 Avalanche, which is like a snowboarding game. I always hear people talking about SSX from this generation, which if you guys are PlayStation owners, you probably played SSX Tricky and On Tour and stuff like that. But 1080 Avalanche is, I think, better than those games. I don't hear enough people talking about 1080 Avalanche. And yeah, it scored like 6s and 7s, which is way too low for this game. This game is at least a 9. I love 1080.
Yeah. Well, as an aside, it seems like every one of the consoles had like their own snowboarding games. Because like Xbox had Amped, SSX, and then you have this like. It's funny how like they all had like these. I guess there's probably a lot of like underrated sports games in general.
Yeah, every console had their snowboarding game back in the day, and this was Nintendo's, and it was actually made by Nintendo Software. So yeah, they published it and developed it. So
you know it's quality if it's most likely quality if it's going to be developed by Nintendo.
Most likely, not all the time. Sometimes we get Animal Crossing, Happy Home Designer, or whatever the hell that the GameCube, the Wii U game was.
Sometimes they hit and miss, but
but yeah, I'd have to go with Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, SpongeBob, Lights, Camera, Pants, and 1080 Avalanche as the games that not enough people talk about from that generation.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check them out. Buy them before this podcast comes out and they go up.
Yeah, they're gonna go up, and we're gonna spike the prices now. Watch. I have no idea what those games are worth right now. I've owned them since I was young, so.
Watch, you'll find out they're like 2 of the most expensive ones.
Maybe. I'd love to have that kind of like that kind of power where when I mention a game, it goes up in price. Collectors, I don't think we're that big yet, but that'd be cool.
Thank God we're not, or else we'd be fucking ourselves.
No kidding.
I'll throw out a hidden gem.
Okay.
It's my go-to hidden gem. It's only on the Xbox original, it's on Steam as well. Nobody talks about this game. It's a game called Armed and Dangerous. Great game. And the gameplay is really fun. It's a LucasArts game, so it has that charm to it. It's developed by a British developer. It's like this. You just follow this like ragtag group. There's a tea-drinking robot, a small mole man. You play a human. The guns in it are funny. There's one gun where you shoot a shark, and it goes through the land. So you see its fin traveling through the ground, and it just jumps out of the ground and eats people.
That's cool.
Like, there's one weapon where you stick it in the ground and you turn it, and the whole screen turns upside down, and all the enemies fall. That's this wacky, fun game.
I love that. That sounds awesome. I'll have to look up gameplay of this. I've never heard of it before. Yeah, Xbox, Microsoft, LucasArts. That's sweet.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. Nobody talks about it, but it might be in my top 20.
You're the first person to mention it to me. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely recommend it. It's my go-to for hidden gems in general.
Sweet.
No. Oh, go ahead.
Yep. No, go ahead. I was going to say, I didn't have anything to say there. I was just going to try and bring up something else, but no, go for it.
I have a few hidden gems. Of course, Big Air Freestyle, and this is kind of a controversial one, but BMX XXX.
BMX XXX, yeah, we covered this one in the arcade extreme sports games as well. This game is fantastic. I'm on the lookout for it. If I can find it at a good price, I will definitely pick it up just based on how weird it is.
Now, hear me out.
Okay.
If you take away the humor and you take away, all the secret videos, it's a decent BMX game. It's similar to Tony Hawk. You could just ride around different levels and do your thing, and it has great music. Just take away the humor and all the nasty stuff, and you get a decent BMX game.
Yeah, no, like looking at the game, it looks fantastic, and I know what you're saying. Like if you take out the nudity and stuff like that, I'm sure it is a fine game. But just based on the fact that they kept in all that raunchy stuff, makes me want it even more. Just because the game exists on GameCube, which is so random. I know it's on Xbox and PS2 as well. But hey, I mean, Playboy gave the game a 77%. So if they reviewed it that highly, then I think it must be a worthwhile game to pick up. Good call out, though. That's fantastic. I haven't played that game yet, so I couldn't give that game credit. But when I do eventually find it, I cannot wait to play it.
I wonder how much Playboy rated the Playboy video game, because I didn't know Playboy rated video games.
They only rated video games that were like this. Yeah, they didn't rate every single game, but occasionally we find games that are rated by Playboy. So we have to always.
Interesting.
It's great.
How much did Playboy give the Guy game?
The Guy game. Let's see here. Who knows?
The Guy game, the only game that's illegal for your game collection.
I don't see a Playboy review. I just see a Metacritic, and it's like a 47. PS2 was 48. PC was 23. Surprisingly, they did not review the Guy game. That's weird.
Anybody own the Guy game in here?
No.
Oh God, no.
All right. If you do own it for legal reasons, you might not want to mention it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, just wink, wink. I do not know. I do not own it. PS2 and Xbox, I do not collect for, so pretty easy to avoid that one.
The game's not good anyway, so who's not with it?
Okay, good to save a bit of money then. That's fantastic.
I think it's like I don't own it. It's too expensive and shit. But apparently, it's like a trivia game. But you don't even guess the answers. You guess if the person's gonna guess right.
Wow, that's like a third-person trivia game. That sucks.
Like a regular trivia game is bad enough alone.
Yeah, really. Yeah, they're not that much fun for a long time. And well, I'm sure some creeps bought it, but not me.
It's not like it's like secretly the greatest fucking game of all time. Like there's no reason to own it.
Not a hidden gem. It's just probably people buy it because of what it means to video gamers.
Yeah, like if you're going for a complete OG Xbox collection, maybe, but
yeah, other than that, I wouldn't see why you'd want this.
Yeah, maybe if I found it for $2, I might flip it on eBay, but other than that.
Yeah. Well, guys, I hate to do this, but I do have to go as well. I don't know if that's about the length of your typical podcast, or if you want to do a couple more questions, I'm good for another 5 minutes.
Well, if we got 5 minutes left, we typically wrap these up. Just everybody says their upcoming plans, was or in life or content-wise.
In life or content-wise. All right, cool. Let me start off. Okay. Well, Mike and I, we have the GameCube Was Cool podcast. We're a weekly show every single Thursday on Spotify, Apple Podcast, things like that. We're going to be posting episode 17 this Thursday. I don't know when your podcast goes live, but it'll be coming out Thursday, September 10th. To everyone there, it's going to be our football episode. Really looking forward to it. And then after that, we'll be covering Animal Crossing. That'll be coming out on September 17th. So, yeah, got a couple more episodes lined up. We're working our way slowly towards all 555 games, covering them all. And we're really enjoying the podcast so far. And this is our first time being a guest host on somebody else's podcast. So really appreciate you guys inviting us over today. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, no problem. And I'm definitely going to have to listen to yours because I work night crew. So I need stuff to listen to. Perfect. Yeah, we got all the episodes there. So, I mean, it was kind of funny because we were listening to like the Sunshine episode the other day, and then we were listening to our first episode, and we're definitely like there's a difference in quality. So maybe start with the newer ones. Yeah, as you find kind of the chemistry and everything. Yeah, the first couple are always a little bit rough, but no, we love what you guys are doing too. So keep up the good work, and we'll have to have you on one of our episodes sometime. Just shoot us a DM if there's a game that you'd like to talk about to be on, and we'll definitely give you a call. Yeah, definitely. And on my upcoming plans, it's September, so I'm still working on getting 20 videos done. Whoa. It's working. I want to film a few episodes of my Xbox original show at some point, although that takes so long to do. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trucking along, working the corporate grind, and doing YouTube on my free time. Yeah, aren't we all? Everyone's got a podcast, that's for sure. Yeah. How about you, Nostalgia?
Just plan on, doing the Twitch thing. Just keep on live streaming. But besides that, just keep on doing the live thing. Just keep on working out, exercise, just trying to improve myself. Yeah, exercise is important too. Yeah, I've just started going. I don't know about you guys, but our gyms here have been closed all summer. They just reopened. I go to Good Life, which is like a Canadian gym. They just reopened a few weeks ago. So I have to be masked. I have to book like an hour a few days in advance. So I'm going today at around 3:30 actually. So I've had a few workouts there, but lately it's just been all outdoor, like running, push-ups, stuff like that. So staying fit is really important, especially right now for physical health and mental health and stuff like that. Definitely. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thanks again, guys, for having us on, and really appreciate it. It's been great. Yeah, let us know when it goes live too, and we'll pitch it on our Instagram as well and try and get some of our followers over to you. Definitely. Cool. It'll be up in the coming days, like, edit out some gaps and add timestamps and stuff. So what gaps? This episode was completely perfect. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, this one has had
no gaps really. Well, except for the middle point, but
flawless all the way through. No, yeah, just let us know whenever. We spend a lot of time editing too. You got to do it. So no rush. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Take care. Have a good rest of your weekend.
You have a good one.
All right. Bye.
See you.